Hi, welcome to part 3 of my barn door series. If you haven't watched the first 2 parts, go ahead and watch those and then come back because in this video, I'm going to show you just how I hung the backing for my barn door. I just want to start this video off by giving thanks for everyone who continues to watch me simply DIY. And while many of you already know that the first rule at Simply Champs TV is safety, the second rule is trying to recycle and use all the materials that we can. And so here, what you see is me reusing some of the tape from part 1 of my video when I sanded down the wall in order to hang the peel and stick wallpaper. So as you're going to continue to see, I reused the tape that I used from part 1 of my series to mark all of the studs. So that way when I hang my backing, I can put the screw into the stud. In here, I just give you a view of exactly what it looked like with my placement tape. My next step was measuring out the middle of the backing. And here's a view of how I marked off the middle of my backing, and there's also a front view of what my stud placement tape looked like. The next step in hanging my barn door backing process was marking off the middle of the partition wall that I had previously built, in which I unfortunately do not have a video of me creating, but if you stick around on my channel, I'm sure I'll build another wall. And of course, you knew it was coming, me taking a little time during this video to remind you to like, comment, and subscribe. Help me grow my followers. Thanks in advance. And here's a view of me using the same method that I used on the backing to mark the middle spot on the wall. My next step in this process was to line up the middle of my backing with the middle of my wall so that I could use my stud placement tape to mark the spots where I would pre-drill holes so that I could hang my backing. And the part of the process that I did not show was me pre-slicing some pieces of tape and sticking them to my shirt because I knew that I would mostly be working with one hand since I would have to hold the backing with the other hand. While pre-drilling holes into wood is usually very important so that you don't split the wood, it was even more so important for this project because I was mostly hanging the backing by myself, although I did have a little help. And this is a view of why I chose to use the recycled pieces of tape from part 1 of this series to mark off my pre-drill hole spots. So that way I wouldn't have to hold the backing to the wall while pre-drilling the holes. I could lie it down, pre-drill the holes, put it back up to be able to put the screws into the right place.
Please don't do it, because I did this all.
Excuse me, allow me to correct myself. I used the recycled tape from part 1 of the series so that Cam could pre-drill these holes all by herself. And then after I was finished, after Cam was finished pre-drilling all the holes into the backing, I then brought the backing over to the wall and lined up the middle marker of the backing to the middle marking of the wall, and then began to put the screws into my pre-drilled holes. After drilling in my first screw, I then used my scale to make sure that my backing was as straight as can be and began drilling in the rest of my screws. And after successfully tightening my first 3 screws, I was then able to relax a bit and let go of the backing so that I could finish filling my pre-drilled holes. And when I say my or I really mean Cam's, because after all,
I did this all by myself.
And the next day, when I had better lighting, I again used the recycled tape from part 1 of this series. This time I used the recycled tape from part 1 of this series to keep my securing holes in alignment. Using this recycled tape in this area also helped with preventing tear out when I remove my drill bit from my pre-drill hole. For this part of the process, I then used my measuring tape so that I could mark off the studs in the wall so that I could finish securing the backing to the wall. And just like before, I had pre-sectioned pieces of tape on my shirt so that I could place them in the area where the studs were so that I could pre-drill my holes. And just in case you need another reminder because you haven't already, go ahead, like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you in advance. I'd be happy to have you. And yet again, allow me to correct myself. We'd be happy to have you. And here's just a view of me using the areas where I taped off the stud to go ahead and pre-drill some holes so that I can insert some screws so I can finish securing this backing to the wall. Because as we already know, the first rule at Simply Champs TV is safety. And we don't want this backing crashing down when we finally do hang up our barn door. And here's just a view of me continuing my process of using the recycled tape from part 1 of this series to then measure off the spots of where the studs are in the wall to begin pre-drilling holes so that I can secure this backing to the wall. And just as an FYI, not only did I pre-drill holes for my screws, I also countersink the holes for my screws. And while neither pre-drilling holes or countersinking are absolutely necessary, they are definitely helpful. So pre-drilling the holes allows for, again, not splitting the wood, and then countersinking allows for the screw to reach farther into the stud because we don't want this thing crashing down on us while we're sleeping. Because again, safety's first, but we also don't want to save money by simply DIYing just to spend it at the hospital. And just like that, you've just simply DIY secured the backing for your barn door to your wall. And I'm super proud of you. See you on part 4.